It's possible to have multiple different input triggers to a workflow within N8N. And that's something that's not available in lots of other automation platforms. So, for example, on this social media agent we have within our community, you can either interact with this agent via WhatsApp or else use N8N's chat trigger. So you can open up the chat and interact with it from there. What you do there is you create a separate trigger input. So just type in chat, for example, chat trigger, add it in there, and then just link it into your workflow. In the same way that we converged modules earlier on in the course, like so, you use a very similar concept here, where we're converging this into the same flow. Then within our social media agent, we're choosing which one to use depending on this simple if statement. It looks kind of complicated, but what we're basically saying is, if this chat message receive node is executed, it just means if that node has run. So if you interact with this scenario via WhatsApp, if you call the agent via a WhatsApp trigger, then this is executed will be false. And within this if statement, we're saying that if this is executed is true, if it's true, then we're going to use the chat node within N8N. Otherwise, we'll use the user message. And the user message is this here, which was taken from WhatsApp. So we're using this expression to merge that data together and choose which one to use depending on which node was called initially. That's one example where we're using multiple input triggers into a scenario. And this does not have to be just for agents. For example, in our blogging blueprint, we have 3 different potential workflow triggers that can start the article generation. So we have an article generation workflow here. What this is taken is a article title, and it can take a bunch of other things such as instructions or an image URL. Within our blogging agent, which you can learn about in our community blueprints, that agent has this tool available. And the tool is actually to call the AI blogging workflow. And this is the workflow it has access to. So if we ask the agent via Telegram to generate an article, it calls this workflow. And it's calling this workflow via this workflow input trigger. However, we can also generate an article via Airtable. So we can click a button with an Airtable, which is going to trigger this webhook. When it triggers the webhook, it's going to search for the record and then converge with the rest of the flow. It's a more advanced use case for sure. So check out the blueprint if you want to understand exactly how that works. But I just want to illustrate that it is possible to start your N8N workflows using multiple different triggers. For example, in this case, it can be called from an agent, it can be called from Airtable directly, or it can be called by scheduling it. So we could just schedule this scenario to run multiple times a day, or whatever the rule exactly is. You can have multiple rules, trigger intervals, days, weeks, months, whatever you want. So there's a lot of customizability towards doing this, but it does get a little bit more complicated because you need to merge the data together. And so there are a bunch of different approaches for that. And again, check out our blueprints if you want to learn a bit more about how to merge those together, because it can vary a little bit depending on the context.